When we go into a company at the beginning, the first thing we have to do is find out, really gather information, gather data, gather processes, and we actually go in and sit down with the key employees, and then we sit down with line staff. But we sit down with selected staff. We'll ask them, what do you do? How do you do it? When do you do it? Why do you do it? Does someone give it to you, and have they worked on it before you received it? And then once you finish, do you pass it along to someone else? It's amazing what you find out. I can give you one example of someone who had been doing a report for 10 years. And I said, well, what happens to the report? What do you do with it when you finish? Oh, it goes in my bottom drawer here. And I said, well, when was the last time someone asked you for it? And she said, oh, probably 9 years ago. So the report had been placed with someone else with another process, an automated process, but no one ever told her to stop doing it. So every day she very dutifully did this report that she was supposed to do, and no one ever looked at it. That was an easy fix, but they're not always that simple. But just that's one example of how a process could be broken, and it's not impacting anyone other than that individual who's doing it, but it is costly for the company for that process to be continued, and where she could have been more efficient doing something else. Once we then talk to them, we will analyze. The first thing we do is validate. Someone may tell me, oh, this is terrible, this is broken, I don't need to be doing it, blah, blah, blah. And then you find out when talking to the next person that it's a critical fact and that it needs to be done. So we always validate what we're told, but we also always keep our conversations confidential. There's no better way to stop someone, the next person you interview, from telling you what they really think than to spill the beans about what someone else said. We hold that very close to our chest and interview several people who may be doing the same things or types of things, so that it's not completely obvious that, oh, Susie told you that. Well, maybe Susie didn't tell me that. Maybe it was Louise. We're very careful to keep those confidential and to make certain that that employee is protected. So once we've validated the information, sometimes we do that through data, sometimes we do that through multiple interviews, sometimes we will go back to a supervisory individual and ask them about that same process and see what they say. And then if we find something that we believe might be awry, then we will go back and ask the question, well, what if we did it this way? How would that work for you? How would that not work for you? So before we actually make a recommendation to management, we validate it with the people who would actually be doing the job.